Before we get started, I did want to let you know that we are recording this session. And so you should have had the pop-up on your screen that said that it's being recorded. My name is Jesse Ketterman. I'm with University of Maryland Extension. I'm a financial literacy educator and do some work with health insurance literacy, as well as some work supporting this program and several others, including mental health first aid. I'm joined today by my colleague, Paul Goeringer. And I don't know, Paul, you wanted to introduce yourself or not, or you just want to stay silent?
I'm Paul Geringer. I'm a faculty member in Ag and Resource Economics and do legal outreach, and have been working on this project with Jesse, Maria, and Nate.
Mhm. And so today we're going to be talking about planning for retirement. This program was originally developed by our colleague Maria Papitas from University of Delaware Cooperative Extension, and then Maria and I have worked together and presented it on several occasions. And the first thing I do want to say is we're going to talk about some financial strategies associated with retirement, but we are not accountants or we are not financial advisors. And so anything that we share today, we encourage you to run past either your accountant, your financial advisor, or both. Okay. And our programs are open to all. And this is the purpose of the poster. Just says, hey, our programs are open to all. And if you wanted to file a complaint, there's a process to do that. And again, we have our University of Maryland statement there that our programs are open to all as well. And I will be presenting today. And so here's an overview of what we're going to be talking about. We are going to try to develop a better understanding of the income and savings needed for retirement. We're going to talk about different savings options that you can offer for yourself as a small business owner, as well as for your employees. We're going to use a tool called the ballpark estimator, using a little case study, putting some numbers in there and showing you how that will generate the numbers so you could use that yourself. We are going to review some of the savings options and then also include some late saver suggestions as well. And that'll wrap things up for today. Feel free to post any questions in the chat box along the way. We'll kind of keep an eye on that. And if we miss it during the session, we'll answer it at the end of the session. So first you need to kind of think about, what are my options? Where's my income going to come from once I hit retirement? And there are several different places that may come from. You have your Social Security income. You have savings, that money you have set aside, or retirement savings. If you're a farmer, you may have assets or land, right? And so that may be able to generate revenue for you. You may rent those things out. So you may be able to sell those assets, sell the equipment, sell the land, or you may be able to rent the land, or you may be able to, you might have other houses on the property that you may be able to rent as well. You may have pensions from other employment you've had over your lifetime. Here again, talking about the sale or rent the equipment to family members. So when you talk about succession planning, which we're going to hit on a little bit, you know, how can the family members continue to operate the farm while still supporting your retirement? And leasing of the land is also an option. And Paul has a lot of information on the leasing of land on his Ag Law website, and also does programming around that. So what are these options when we talk about retirement options for yourself and employees? There's the 401k, the 453B, 457. Those are all plan numbers through the IRS, and we're going to touch briefly on them. We're going to talk about individual retirement accounts, or IRA. And again, we have the traditional IRA and we have the Roth IRA. There's also a thing called a simple IRA. And you can see there, that's a savings incentive match plans for employees. You have a SEP IRA, which is a simplified employee pension. profit sharing, and defined benefit plans and pension plans. So those are things that we're going to touch on as we go throughout our presentation today. So there's two kind of terms that you need to think about when you're thinking about your farm operation, right? You need to think about succession planning, which is, as you can see, continuing the operation of the business for future generations, whether it's your children or your grandchildren. You know, how do we get this operation to continue in the future? Because there are several operations out there that are multi-generational operations. And then what is retirement? Retirement, again, is a process more on the individual side. How do I plan for retirement, but plan for the succession of my farm? So retirement planning, as you can see there, is the process that uses financial strategies of saving, investing, and ultimately distributing money to sustain yourself during retirement. And of course, these two would be intertwined as well, or could be intertwined if that's your plan with your operation is to pass it on. And so here's a visual that you can see that there's a lot that goes into the planning aspect of this. There's estate planning, there's retirement planning, succession planning, business planning, and there's a whole host of documents that you need to think about, work through as you do those, address those certain areas. So it might be the business plan. It might be the will, a power of attorney, setting up a trust, advanced healthcare. All of those things are parts of what play into these four different areas. And one of the things you need to remember is that those include planning and communication and transparency, and making sure that you are getting the right advice along the way. And so sometimes that's, like I mentioned earlier, an accountant or a financial advisor. And when you look at some of these other documents, it may include a lawyer as well. And so again, communication is important as you come up with your plan as well. So where do you start when you start thinking about retirement? You kind of have to get an idea of what your retirement is going to be like. And so some questions you might want to ask yourself, or you and your partner, you might want to ask, sit down and both of you discuss this, is where you will be living. Will you stay on the farm? Will you sell the farm and move somewhere else and live on the beach, right? How will you spend your time? And so some people want to travel. Some people enjoy staying at home. Some people want to travel overseas, and that's, you know, that's all part of the planning for retirement, because you got to figure out, you know, how much money you're going to need to do the things that you want to do in retirement. Who's going to be around you? So again, do you want to be surrounded by family? Is that not a variable for you? Like I said, you might move to the beach. What kind of leisure activities will you pursue? I think a lot of people are in retirement now are playing paddleball. Is that something you might be interested in? Who's going to be running the farm? And then there's also stages of retirement that play into this. So you go through different things as you go through retirement, and we're going to talk about those in a minute. And so these are those stages that someone might experience. And you can see this is pulled together by Ashley, the 6 stages of retirement. And so pre-retirement, and where we're going to spend our time today, is really kind of the pre-retirement phase, the planning process up to retirement. Then you have retirement, right? And it's like, wow, I'm there. I can't believe it. And so you feel rest and relaxation. Then you move into this disenchantment phase where, okay, now it's starting to settle in, right? Maybe it's not what you expected. And so there's just this new adjustment there. And once you kind of work through that new adjustment, then you reorient yourself, and then you establish your routine. So, and we're not going to talk about the termination of retirement, right? That's the negative side. We're gonna say, we're gonna establish our routine in retirement. One thing that we do know is that retirement does take money, and you need to have an idea of how much money you're gonna need. And so you need to think about, your housing, your utilities, how much will your heat cost, your electricity, your water, sewer, trash pickup, health insurance. And so how are you going to pay your premiums, deductibles, copays, Medicare? They say covers about 80% of your medical care. So you need to be prepared for that other 20%. Transportation, will you be driving around a lot? Do you need a new car? Are you going to drive the same car and hope it lasts for a long time? What are your eating habits? Will you cook at home more often because you have more time, or will you decide you want to go out more and interact with others? What kind of communication you have? Are you going to need that cable TV? Are you going to stream your TV? Will you have a landline phone? Will you have a cell phone? Will you have both? What's your clothing and leisure going to look like? Charitable contributions. When I talk to people in their senior years about this topic, I talk about, when you have a fixed income, you just can't give to every organization that knocks on your door. You have to kind of figure out what is within your means in terms of charitable giving. And then you also need to remember that you still have insurance premiums. So all those things, of course, take money.